Welcome in, Dween Nation. We are the Dween Sports Podcast, and we are just about to get started. But before we do, we'd love if you could like, comment, subscribe, and share so we can continue to be your fantasy sports podcast. Thanks for being part of Dween Nation, and enjoy the show. Welcome in, Dween Nation. This is your host, Justin Paez, and in the spirit of college football starting this Saturday, week 0, I thought it's time we do an SEC final predictions. I'm going to go through all SEC games, so obviously all 16 of the teams, week 1 to week 14, and who will find themselves in the SEC championship game and who will win said game. But I love to do this. I know my co-host Jano is not on here, but I just wanted to dive into the SEC, dive into college football as we just get so close to it finally starting. And why don't we just dive into week 1 and see kind of how things play out. We start, obviously, I'll give the gimme matches. Missouri's going to beat Central Arkansas. We got Mississippi State over Southern Mississippi, Kentucky. I think Alabama's going to wipe Florida State. You got Georgia, Arkansas, OU, Texas A&M, Florida, Vandy, Ole Miss. And I do think South Carolina will beat Virginia Tech, even though that is probably one of the sneakiest games on the week in the SEC. But then we look at the rest of the slate here. We got Auburn at Baylor. And honestly, from what I've heard, a lot of good things about Baylor. And Auburn and Jackson Arnold have not been clicking. And I just think that Baylor right now is one of my favorite teams in the Big 12. So give me Baylor to get that win, especially at home. This is the biggest game, obviously, on the week. That's where game day is going with Texas and Ohio State. You got new starting quarterback Julian Sayin, as well as Arch Manning. But I just think what it comes down to is who lost more talent to the draft last year and going into this year. And so I think Texas has that ability to really go into Ohio State and get the victory there. And I do predict Texas to get the victory there. Tennessee against Syracuse. Syracuse just named their new starting quarterback, Steve Angeli, who was formerly at Notre Dame. Tennessee obviously has Joey Aguilar and this whole debacle of the Nico Miliava drama. And I think starting out, they're going to have to start slow just because that was just such a change to the program so late in the spring. And so I'm actually going to go with Syracuse to win here. Then we go all the way down here to LSU at Clemson. And LSU has lost 5 straight home or season openers. And I think that it's going to continue because Clemson's one of my favorite teams in the league. They just have so much talent. I know Dabo hasn't really picked up from where he had with Trevor Lawrence in those years, but Cade Klubnik's going to be one of those top guys in the Heisman running, as well as Garrett Nussmeier. I think these are like a battle of 2 of the top 3 guys that might go to New York for the Heisman ceremony. But give me Clemson to win at home and start LSU losing another week 1. We'll move to week 2, and I'll knock out these quick ones again. San Jose State's not going to beat Texas. Texas A&M is going to be Utah State. Georgia will win there. Tennessee will win there. Florida, Arkansas, South Carolina, Auburn, LSU, and Alabama here. So now here are the rest of the games that I think are kind of interesting. Missouri's a really weird one because they still haven't named their starting quarterback yet. And they play in 10 days. But I think Kansas is a team that could be really sneaky this season with Jalen Daniels and Lance Leipold. It really has always gone down the drain at some point of the year, but I think Kansas is going to start somewhat hot this season, and they're going to get the road victory against an SEC opponent. Missouri loses to Kansas. Ole Miss at Kentucky. Obviously, Ole Miss got upset by Mark Stoops in Kentucky last season. I do not see that happening again. Obviously, Kentucky's new quarterback, Zach Calzada. I know him fondly just because I was at A&M the year that he was the starting quarterback there, from the injuries, and then the Alabama game with the highs. But there were way more lows. Zach Calzada, I'm happy for him because he went to Auburn, then he went to Incarnate Word, and then he came all the way back. Now he's back in the SEC, so I know he's gotten some more starting reps. But give me Ole Miss to get the victory there. Arizona State at Mississippi State. Arizona State's another team in the Big 12 that I think is just one of the top teams with Baylor. And I know they're heading to Mississippi State with all the cowbells, but I think Arizona State's going to win that road game. And then we got Michigan at OU. The big story here for me, obviously both teams will be 1-0 starting. Sharon Moore is not going to be coaching in this game with the suspension. And so I think OU with John Mateer is going to take advantage, and they're going to get the win there. And then Vandy and Virginia Tech. I mean, Virginia Tech's a team that's kind of sneaky this season. I'm actually a really solid fan of them. Vanderbilt obviously ended last year on an incredible run. They had wins over Alabama and Auburn. Gosh, this is a tough one because I do think Vanderbilt takes a step back because the hype is now on them. The eyes are now on them. Nobody was looking at them last year. So I'm actually going to give the home win to Virginia Tech. And we're going to move to week 3. We got Vandy at South Carolina. I'll give South Carolina there. OU obviously over Temple, Alabama over Wisconsin, easy. Auburn over South Alabama, Missouri over, the Raging Cajuns, Texas over Utah, Mississippi State, yes, and Kentucky there. Okay, so now we're at the tough matchups to discuss through. We got Arkansas at Ole Miss, and I just think Arkansas, man, they just keep rinsing and repeating, and obviously it just ends them with 6 wins on a season. And obviously last year they lost Armstrong. They lost a Rocket, or no, that was 2 years ago, Rocket Sanders. But they still have Taylor Green. He's really solid. But I just don't see that they have that many other pieces to support it. And Lane Kiffin, I think, is going to, with Austin Simmons, be really solid. So give me Ole Miss there. Georgia at Tennessee. Maybe if obviously all that drama, which we've already discussed, didn't happen, then Tennessee would be a team I'd like here. But I'm going to go with Georgia here on the road. Florida and LSU. Florida's already, they got that gauntlet schedule. This is kind of the first one in it, and I'm going to go with LSU to win at home in Death Valley. And then A&M and Notre Dame. This is a tough one. This is a really big swing of a season for the Texas A&M Aggies. I do think that any of those top road games, so they still got LSU on the road and Texas on the road. Notre Dame right here, they could do it. I mean, CJ Carr obviously getting his first reps as a starting quarterback. They named him the starting quarterback. But so they play against Miami in week 1. Then they have a bye week immediately after. I don't know. I don't really see that as too much of a benefit for them just because they're going to get going and then stop. Unless week 1 they really struggle and it's like a week to, reassess. But I don't think they'll struggle against Miami. But with A&M, they're going to get 2 easy games with Utah State and UTSA. And I actually think, they got beat on their home turf last year. So I'm going to go with the Aggies to get the big win against what will be a top 10 team. And the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We'll move to week 4, South Carolina at Missouri. That's a tough one. Let me knock out some of these other ones real quick, though. I have Ole Miss over Tulane, Tennessee over UAB, Mississippi State there, Vandy there, LSU there, and Texas there. All right, South Carolina and Missouri. I think that Lenore Sellers is going to have a great season, a tremendous season. They do lose a lot of pieces, though, especially on the defensive side. I believe it was 6 of 7 starters on that defensive line. But Missouri, man, they also lost a solid amount. I just don't see them being a team that we're scared of this season. So give me South Carolina to win on the road. Give me OU to beat Auburn at home. Florida against Miami. Obviously, last year Miami cooked them, and it was an embarrassing outing. But one of the big things that I kind of been riding with this offseason in preparation for the season is I don't think the Hurricanes are that good of a team. I think Carson Beck is going to bust with this team, unlike what we saw with Cam Ward last year. So give me Florida with the upset road victory. And then Arkansas against Memphis. Memphis obviously was a team, they were trying to get into the Big 12, if I'm not wrong, and got denied. Is this a big prove-it game for them against Arkansas, who obviously Arkansas has lost a game already? This is tough, though, because I don't want to give too much hate towards Arkansas. I still think with Sam Pittman, he's just a solid coach that's going to get you to about 6 wins. So, give me Arkansas to get the road victory here. We'll move to week 5, Tennessee at Mississippi State. Give me Mississippi State to get the big upset victory there at home. Obviously, Blake Shapen was the guy for them last year and then got the injury. I know MVB came in and was actually really solid, even though they weren't winning games. But I think Shapen's back with Jeff Lebby, and I think he's going to ball out. So give me Mississippi State to get the victory there. Give me Missouri over UMass. South Carolina over Kentucky for sure. A&M's going to beat up Auburn. It's a revenge game. A 4 overtime loss in Auburn last year is just not going to cut it. And they're pissed off this year. I guarantee it. And they're going to get the victory there. Ole Miss against LSU is going to be that's probably the toughest one on the slate. I'll knock out Vandy right there, and I'll give Notre Dame the win over Arkansas. But LSU at Ole Miss, man, that is a tough one to. I'll even hold that so I can talk about the Alabama-Georgia game, because that game obviously last year was fireworks at Alabama. But if you look at it, I mean, Georgia does not lose at home. They just really haven't. And I'm not going to go and bet on it happening until I really see it, because they're just stalwarts at home. They are like automatic W's there. And so that's why I am going to pick Georgia to beat Alabama this season. Even though last year, obviously, what a great game, what a back and forth shootout. And obviously, Georgia had the chance to tie it. Down the stretch of that game, they weren't able to with the interception. And so I'm going to go with Georgia. And then with LSU and Ole Miss, man, this is still a tough one, but I do think this is one of those big seasons for LSU. I hate to say it being an Aggie, but I'll go with the LSU Tigers to get the victory there on the road. We'll move to week 6, where this is a pretty light week. So a lot of buys are happening this week. But give me A&M over Mississippi State. Give me Bama over Vandy. Give me Georgia over Kentucky, and give me OU over Kent State. The tough one here is Texas and Florida, where I actually do think that Florida is going to get the better of Texas at home. Obviously, last year it was a shellacking by Texas, but we got to look at the context. DJ Lagway was hurt, did not play that game. So it was a rough outing for Florida, and I think they remember that as well. And so they're going to get the victory at home here, knocking off what will be the number 1 team in the Texas Longhorns. Then we move to week 7, Georgia at Auburn. That's a great game. I think that's a game that might be in store for an upset. I'll knock out a couple more of these, though. I'll go LSU over South Carolina. I'll go Ole Miss there. I'll go Texas there in the Red River rivalry. I'll go with Tennessee to get the win over Arkansas, and give me Bama over Mizzou, and actually give me A&M over Florida. I think that's a home game for A&M that they will be able to hold Lagway well. And so give me A&M there. But Georgia at Auburn, man, do I want to pull the trigger on a big upset in this season? Obviously, they are going to happen throughout the season. And so I think that it's time for something big to happen like that. So give me Auburn to get the big upset here at home. It's probably going to be a night game. I actually want to look that up real quick, because if it is in Jordan-Hare, that's going to be a great atmosphere. It is still TBD, but I really hope. Oh no, it is going to be at 2:30. Ooh, I don't love that. If I'm not reading that wrong, yeah, September 27th. That's not great. I don't love it. It's not going to be in September. I'm going to go with Auburn, though. I'll stick with them. I just think that we're in store for some upsets, especially in the SEC. Every week's kind of a gauntlet match for most teams. And so I think they're going to get the better of them there, especially coming off the week against Alabama. Georgia's probably going to be feeling victorious, feeling like, hey, man, we're the top guys in this league, and then get surprised, just like Alabama did. Just like Alabama did last year against Georgia when they beat Georgia, and then they lose to Vandy the following week. So we'll keep going. Week 8, Auburn against Missouri. Give me Auburn. Give me South Carolina over OU. Give me Bama over Tennessee. Give me A&M over Arkansas. Give me Florida. Give me Georgia. Give me Line. No, I'm just kidding. Give me Texas over Kentucky. And, here's another one. LSU at Vanderbilt. Give me a Vanderbilt. I think that Diego Pavia is a guy. He's got that mentality that he can beat just about anybody. Like, he can beat everybody. Eli Stowers is really solid. And I think that they're in line to get a big upset this year. I don't think they're a team that's going to, vie for a playoff spot or anything in the college football playoffs, but I think they're in store for a big upset this season as well. So give me Vanderbilt here. Texas A&M at LSU. Obviously, this is where A&M has never beat LSU in Death Valley, and that's going to continue. I think LSU is going to be in the mood for revenge, as well as they lost last year when they were up a considerable amount. Then they put in Marcel Reed, and things turned. So give me LSU, though, to get the victory there. Give me Texas over Mississippi State. Give me OU over Ole Miss. Give me South Carolina to beat Alabama. Obviously, they last year lost such a close game that they thought they had in the back at Alabama. Now they get the home game. So I think that's going to be a great game, and South Carolina wins. Give me Arkansas over Auburn. Give me Vandy over Missouri. And then right here, can Kentucky do it? Can they beat Tennessee? Is Tennessee really going to fall off this hard? Wow, that's a tough one. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with Tennessee, and I already have them getting upset by Mississippi State. Is it going to happen again? I don't think so. I'll stick with Tennessee here. We'll move to week 10. Auburn will beat Kentucky. Arkansas will beat Mississippi State. Give me Ole Miss over South Carolina at home. Give me Tennessee to beat OU, and give me Texas over Vandy, and give me Florida to beat Georgia. So obviously that's a home sweep this week. But I think Florida is a really solid team, y'all. I think they just have, a tough schedule, a really tough schedule. But if they're like I have them beating Texas, they're going to be that good of a team, I predict. And so I see it continuing. They beat Georgia. Then we got A&M at Missouri. Give me A&M. Give me Bama over LSU. Give me Florida over Kentucky. Give me Vandy over Auburn. Give me Georgia there, and then give me Ole Miss over the Citadel. Moving to Week 12 here. If you look at the schedule, there's some more gimme games. I think LSU over Arkansas. I'll go Missouri over Mississippi State. I'll go with Alabama over OU. These two, Kentucky and Tennessee, get the easy wins there. Give me A&M over South Carolina. I think that's also a game that got away from the Aggies. The game Le'Veon Moss got injured for the season when A&M obviously was riding that high. They had beaten LSU and they had beaten Missouri, which at the time were two top 10 teams. And then they go and play South Carolina and it doesn't go well. So I think they bounce back this year in that matchup. Texas at Georgia. I was talking about it earlier. Georgia's just so good at home, and until they show me otherwise, I know a lot of people aren't high on Gunnar Stockton, but I'm really high on those wide receivers, Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas. Obviously, the defense is always going to be really good. I think they're in line just for another good year, and I think they're going to beat Texas here. Florida at Ole Miss is a tough one. Give me Ole Miss, though, to get that victory there. I feel like a lot of people are counting out Austin Simmons and Lane Kiffin, but they're always going to be a really solid team in that 8-4, 9-3 range. So they get the victory here. We'll move to Week 13. LSU will get that. South Carolina will get that. Texas will get that. Vandy, OU, A&M. Oh, yeah, man, this is a pretty light week. I guess it's the only one that deserves debate. But as we've kind of talked it through, Tennessee's a team that we think is just going to have a down year. I mean, when you have your star quarterback leave in the spring, it really throws the season upside down. And I think that and Jermon McCoy, their star cornerback, is going to be hurt for most of the season. Obviously, they lost James Pierce Jr. to the draft and Dylan Sampson to the draft and Dante Thornton. So I think they lost a lot of pieces, plus the quarterback change. Give me Florida. We'll move to rivalry week, the big week that decides who is in or out of the SEC championship game. I'll go with I'll actually go with Mississippi State to get the upset victory here. Give me Texas. Give me Bama. Give me LSU. Give me Arkansas. Give me Florida. Give me Louisville. Give me Clemson to get back on South Carolina. South Carolina went there last year and beat them, but Clemson's just a better team this year. They just have dudes across the board. And I think South Carolina, obviously at this point in the season, has not had the top 10, top 15 type season they're hoping for. So Clemson gets the victory there. Tennessee will beat Vanderbilt, but I don't love it, but I'll keep that there. And then the last one that deserves debate is that Georgia and Georgia Tech game. Last year was a phenomenal, 8 or 9 overtimes, if I'm not wrong. It was just what a game to watch. It was on a Friday. And this year I actually expect Georgia Tech to be an improved team. It was an 8 overtime game. But man, this one's tough because I am going to go with Georgia Tech. I think that, obviously, man, Haynes King, as much as it's crazy to say, because at A&M he wasn't that quarterback, but going to Georgia Tech, and he has just balled out with this team, and I just love what they got going on here. And I think they get that deserved victory here after last game where they had such a good chance, such a good opportunity. It didn't happen, but, that's what it is. And so we move, and you'll look over here on the left with Alabama and Texas being my SEC championship. And I do think if you get Arch Manning in the SEC championship, man, it's tough to say no. And then, if you look at Bama, obviously a 10-2 record here, that means Ty Simpson was a really good pick to start. And you have Ryan Williams. I don't think anybody's going to be able to stop him in this game. So you know what? Actually, I am going to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide and Kalen DeBoer to win the SEC championship in his second year with the team. I think just all the things that, last year was not great for Alabama standards, and them to just come back in this season. They got Ryan Grubb back, who is the OC with Kalen DeBoer in Washington. He's back helping call plays for the offense. And I think Ty Simpson's a really solid piece. And if it doesn't work out, I still like, true freshman Keelan Russell. I think Austin Mack's still there. Jam Miller, the running back's a beast. And the defense is always going to be a threatening defense. So I think Alabama is going to win the SEC championship this year. This is my pick for them. I'll also do a college football playoff prediction before this weekend. So stay tuned for that because that's just a lot of fun and then something that we need to get in because week 0 college football literally starts this weekend, this Saturday, this Friday even maybe. I know the game's in Dublin, but that game's going to be a great game. Iowa State versus Kansas State's kind of the headliner. I know we also get a UNLV, which I think is going to be a really solid team this year. They got a game. Fresno State, I think, is the team that plays them that week, or this week, upcoming week. So I think that, man, college football is back, ladies and gentlemen, and here is what the SEC is going to play out to be. We got a Kansas game, we got Stanford, Hawaii. So some good games, even though it's not kind of the headline games that week 1 is going to bring. It's still college football and still a lot of fun. So enjoy college football. Stay tuned for our college football playoff predictions. But thank you guys for listening. And as we always say, peace.